Good day, this is Denver Fernandez here, and welcome to the fourth episode of A Book from My Library. Today I'll be talking about a Latin American novel. So, the Latin American novel that I'm going to talk about is 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. This novel is actually a very difficult novel to read. It's originally written in Spanish and it's actually translated into English. So, I'll read the blurb for you. So these are actually the first lines of the novel. Many years later, as he faced the firing squad, Colonel Arnelenio Bundera was to remember that distant afternoon when his father took him to discover ice. Now we'll go to the rest of the blurb. Pipes and kettle drums herald the arrival of the gypsies on their annual visit to Macando, the newly founded village where Jose Arcadio Bundera and his strong-willed wife Ursula have started their new life. As the mysterious Mechelides excites Aurelio Bandera and his father with new inventions and tales of adventure, neither can know the significance of the indecipherable manuscript that the old gypsy passes into their hands. Through plagues of insomnia, civil war, hauntings, and vendettas, the many tribulations of the Bundera household push memories of the manuscript aside. Few remember its existence, and only one will discover the hidden message that it holds. So, this novel is actually a huge revolution because it changed the focus of the literary world to Latin America. So, this novel is actually happening in an imaginary land of Macando. Macando is an imaginary land, yet it's actually Colombia. So, this novel talks about 7 generations of the Bundera family and their life in Macando, and they are fated, or their destiny is to repeat the same mistakes which their forefather had made. So actually this novel is a very confusing novel because many characters have the same name. So it's a tradition in Spanish families to name your sons and grandchildren of the same name. So actually what helped me while reading this novel is actually this family tree. This family tree actually gives a great map while it's like a more of a map while reading this novel. I think without this family tree would not have understood this novel that well. And this novel also has strange characters who appear as ghosts, or characters who fly into the sky, ascend into the sky, just like as in the New Testament of the Bible. So this novel is a reminder of the Genesis of the Bible. You can see a parallel with so many generations coming one after the other and repeating the same mistakes which their ancestors made, etc. So this novel is a landmark when it comes to magical realism. So what is magical realism? In my last video I talked about realism. Magical realism is presenting fantastical or magical elements, supernatural elements in a very mundane fashion as if they are part of the reality. So it's very much different from a fantasy novel. In a fantasy novel, magical elements are the main idea of the novel, and it helps to move the plot forward. In fantasy novels, magical elements would act like a deus ex machina that actually saves the hero from a catastrophe. So the magical elements actually are used to move the plot forward and to easily end the story, etc. But in a magical realist novel, these magical elements act as symbolisms. For example, ghosts, the ghosts that's appearing in this novel, actually they are you can call them as the guilt from the past, or something that remains from the past which keeps on haunting us. It can be tradition, it can be genetics, it can be anything. So in a magical realistic novel, you would find magical elements as an allegory to something else. And actually this novel is also a huge political satire. In a way it criticizes both colonialism and capitalism. So in this novel there is a capitalist who starts a banana factory, and in the end murders so many workers who refuse to work. So these things are actually a critique of neo-colonialism or capitalism. That's a reality, not something magical. But these magical elements can express things which even reality can't express. For example, in this novel, you have the telescope. You have the telescope that this gypsy called Meliquidus brings. So people are fascinated by this telescope more than a magical element. So people when they see a magical element, they are not that surprised. But when they see this telescope, so the scientific inventions are more surprising or more astonishing than the actual magical elements in the story. Another important idea in this novel is the manuscript. So the manuscript the original content of the manuscript is actually the entire fate of the Bundera family. So only one person is able to read the manuscript, and because he was able to translate the manuscript, which is actually originally written in Sanskrit, so the destiny of the Bundera family is actually already written. So that's the surprise element in this novel. So it's something of a eternal recurrence that is portrayed in this novel. There's this idea of Nietzsche of this eternal recurrence. The what happens is actually a circle. We keep on living the same lives. We keep on making the same mistakes which our ancestors made, etc. Another important thing I want to talk about this novel is that this novel inspired Salman Rushdie to write his Midnight Children. I have Salman Rushdie's Midnight Children also with me. I have read that too. So this novel, in a way, is the inspiration for Salman Rushdie's Midnight Children. Midnight Children also uses a lot of magical, realistic elements, and it uses it in an Indian context. Thank you. Like and subscribe to Denver's Den.